You're listening to The Secrets of Sacred Art, where we unearth the hidden treasures, history, and deeper meanings in religious and sacred art. We're your hosts, Alix Murray.
And I'm Kathryn Laffrey. Welcome to episode 29, Durham Cathedral, the summation of all things. In this episode, we'll explore the art and images of the mighty Durham Cathedral. It is mighty.
It is.
And explore its many treasures within, lots of treasures. And join us as we discover the deep history and powerful beauty of this magnificent cathedral. And for our viewers, or anyone who's looked for our podcast, you might have seen... Oops.
Yep.
There it is.
Yeah.
That is the background image in our show icon. Love it.
I know. It's so beautiful. And so now everyone knows there's our little secret. This is where it came from. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we were going round and round and round. What would be the one thing that is just scream sacred art? There's nothing better than a big old cathedral in stone.
I know. So now you know our little secret. And there's a lot going on. But first, let's just ask people to please follow The Secrets of Sacred Art in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. For a fuller experience, you can join us on the SQPN YouTube channel, which is really where you need to go. We always say that. And you can see all the images we're discussing on the show. You can find us on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, on X at SQPN, or on Instagram at StarQuest Network. So first, I think, we want to talk about a little bit of why Durham Cathedral holds such a special place in our hearts, Kathryn. Mm-hmm. This is a little bit of our origin story. Why don't you kind of share with our viewers and listeners why this cathedral is so special to us?
Well, first of all, way back in episode 1, we talked about me coming to visit you and all the places we ran to. Place to place. Alix broke all the rules of visitors and just dragged me here.
Who needs sleep?
Right? Time was precious, and there's so many things to see. So one of the places we went to was Durham, and oh my goodness, I love a big old church and love finding all the little niches and things that nobody always looks at.
Yeah.
And then, of course, my favorite thing is finding those ancient stairways inside the columns that you get to go up and up and up and up and up and up.
And then if you're like halfway up and you decide, I think I want to go down. No, you don't. I mean, that's the thing. Going. I know. 'Cause it's like, And I think coming down is scarier personally.
Yes. The stairs are scary coming down because they are ancient stairways that have been used a lot lately. And those edges get a little rounded, and there's nothing smoother than stone that's been tread over and over and over again.
I know. That's why I always lean. I slide down one side of the tower because I'm just because if you start falling, forget it.
Yeah, just slide, just roll with it.
I know, but also it's not like in the films, when you have, and you do actually have an advantage. There's an advantage you have, I think, fighting if you're up at the top versus the bottom, because you can push somebody down, but you can't necessarily pull someone down.
So the old Obi-Wan Kenobi to Anakin. I have the higher ground.
Yes, you want the higher ground, and so for me, because I'm a human being. I'm really afraid of falling. I don't know why, but I always have been. Like I never bounced much. I just fall and then I'm like in a heap. And I'm maybe just living in really old houses before there were any kind of regulations. I also was very aware of I could fall down these steps. And so I've developed ways of walking down very narrow steps. And that is to just slide, get to the far end of the wall and slide down. And also because I have really big feet and those old ancient steps do not, or the treads do not go together. So I'm like a big-footed slug coming down.
But I must say, when we were going through the cathedral, wow, we saw so many different kinds of art that we could talk about, all different things. And, lots
the
of
history,
big treasury.
It is, in so many different ways. And there's even a little bit of a connection with the United States.
That
people might not know. I know. It wasn't a surprise to me because I've seen that, but we shall come to that. We shall come to that.
Yes.
But let's kind of start with the beginning. Let us begin at the beginning and with a story of the story of Durham Cathedral. And if we can look at maybe the next slide. And the story of Durham Cathedral all begins with the life of one holy man, and that's St. Cuthbert. And he was born in East Lothian, Scotland, which used to be called Dunbar, Northumbria. So I didn't even know that the borders changed like that. Yeah. So now it's East Lothian, Scotland, but it used to be in England. And in the year 364, and we're going to be looking at a series of images from the life of St. Cuthbert by St. Bede. And this particular manuscript is from the 12th century. And I love this picture. So this is a picture of him, or an illustration of him from the life of St. Cuthbert when he was a young man. And I love this because, of course, I love animals, and I love how animals, these depiction of animals doing the will of God, because then I just think they're so sweet. And this is a picture of, I guess he was out with his horse, and he was praying, and the horse reached up into a little hut, and he pulled down a little parcel of cheese and bread that had been stuck in a roof.
Oh, goodness gracious. I'm so glad you explained this.
Okay.
When I first looked at it, this part here looks like a head. And I'm going, is he pulling down like someone's skin, like St. Bartholomew's skin or something like that? Yeah. Okay, now I see the cheese and the bread.
Now it's the cheese and he's wrapped in a piece of linen. And I just,
Okay.
I know. Isn't he sweet?
Do you see the skin? It looks like skin, right?
I can kind of see where you're going. But also, do you know what I love about medieval manuscript animals? Look what a human face that horse has. I mean, it's just, it's fascinating how, and of course, because of that, and we've gone over this in a couple of other, podcasts that we have, when you see an animal and it has a lot of human features in its face, this is a signal to us that there are certain virtues that this animal has that we are supposed to take on, or we're supposed to consider. And
it's like the horse is reflecting what our human nature should be doing.
Exactly. And right now, this one, he's found some bread and cheese for his master, which is so sweet. I love it.
Nice.
His fat little pony. So maybe let's go to the next slide so we can I've tried to coordinate these slides with what's going on in St. Cuthbert's life. And so when in 1651, so this is the thing about he was such a long time ago. I kind of want to add 1,000 years. In 651, he takes his monastic vows. In 655, he joins the monastic order on Lindisfarne. And in 676, he establishes the hermitage in Inner Farna. So that's another island off the coast of Lindisfarne, and we didn't go to that one. I don't even know if you can go to that one anymore. I don't know. And here is an image of St. Cuthbert building his hermitage with the help of an angel. And and I think both of these people are St. Cuthbert. So it's not two guys, two monks.
Is this a little furry dog up here?
I was looking at that, and it's some kind of animal. but I don't know. And he had a very close relationship with lots of animals. In fact, there's a little picture coming. There's another one coming up. Maybe we can go to the next image. So he was made bishop in between 665 and 685 and 687, because he died around 687. But he was famous for his holiness. And this is an image of St. Cuthbert as Bishop of Lindisfarne. And you've got a monk down there kissing his feet. And it's believed that that monk is actually St. Bede. And he's doing that to show his reverence and respect. So that's something that would have been, I think for us in modern times, we have such issues with, quite frankly, with hierarchy, but clearly they didn't, so to draw yourself kissing, or, to have someone who is quite revered being depicted kissing the foot of someone else who's quite revered. So
when was Saint Bede in relation to Cuthbert? How many years
he
apart?
Was a oh gosh, I knew you were going to ask me this with all the dates.
I'm sorry. You can give me a rough idea.
I want to say they weren't contemporaries, but they were maybe close. So they weren't like
within 100 years.
Well within 100 years. Within 100 years of each other. Yeah. I mean, Saint Bede was. I wish we could do we should do a podcast about his life. He was really amazing. And of course,
some good art of Saint Bede.
Yes. And a lot of things that he explained. And he was a really amazing man. And of course he's at Durham Cathedral. And, but if you look at the second one, now I got this one for you, Kathryn, because you love otters and I love this.
I do.
So this image of Saint Cuthbert praying, because this is how the Celtic monks liked to pray. They would stand in the icy cold water of the Irish Sea and they would recite all 150 Psalms every day.
That's a health craze now, not the praying, but the being in icy cold waters is such a health craze right now. It's funny.
I know. Maybe people should add the 150 Psalms to it. And they might be healthier, spiritually healthy.
I might be willing to jump in icy cold waters to do the Psalms. But these otters down here are so cute.
I know. That's why I got them because they warmed his feet with their fur and their breath.
Aww,
isn't that cute?
Sweet.
And they don't look like
that is sweet.
I think there might be some degradation of the ink
image.
or the image. Yeah. Cause I would imagine that they were probably, his feet and the otters are kind of faded there, but I wonder if
that's a spot where the page was turned a lot.
You never know. Or they could have tried to use something a little bit different and it didn't last. Do you know what I mean?
The otters were just that cute and everybody kept touching them.
That could be a possibility too. And I don't have I don't have an image of this, but there's an icon of the baptism of Christ and it looks so much like this image of St. Cuthbert praying that there's obviously some kind of connection or awareness of this particular style. And I love the waves in this as well.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, yeah, all this style reminds me of the St. Albans Psalter.
That's probably, I think that's what it's from. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautifully.
Yeah, I love the waviness,
depicted.
The beautiful drapery, and the other image, that's a drapery in the monk's robes, just the way everything's just has a softness to it is beautiful.
It is. It really is. And the stars, they're kind of quite... they're grafted out, they're not spontaneous. They're very regimented. The stars in the background. They're beautiful pieces, And so one of the things that he was famous for just so many things, miracles and all kinds of stuff. But one thing that he's known for kind of if you want to say politically, is he regularized the Celtic calendar with the Roman calendar, especially as it pertains to the dates of Easter. So he got them on board, and you know, this was something that happened early on in the church. And every once in a while it would drift, and then somebody would come and tighten it up, like our beloved St. Margaret of Scotland, you know. But these are things that happen, you know. People stray, you know. I would say the methodology can become a little sloppy, and then somebody reins it in. And that has happened throughout the history of the church, and this is just another example of it. Now, we can go to the next slide. I actually can't remember what's on the next slide, but we'll find out. Okay. Yes.
More beautiful waves.
Exactly. So he returned. So he was made bishop, but then at some point he wanted to return to his hermitage. And this is an image of him, maybe, you know, getting a sign from God. As you can see, the hand of God,
Right
speaking to
in
him.
The cloud area.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that hand. I just love it.
It's one of my favorite ways of seeing God depicted.
Yeah. And again, look at the stars, how quite regimented they are. And
yeah, I like how they alternate a star with the 3 dots.
I know. It's really beautiful. It's almost fabric-like. And I love all the little shells on the beach.
Yeah.
And
that is beautiful.
I know. But the other thing I love about this, so this is actually a depiction of him praying for a storm to, so people wouldn't be drowned in a storm. And so he's driving the storm away. And I love how the water flows from one side to another, and how as it's flowing from left to right, the waves are becoming more chaotic. You know?
Yeah, there's some great swirls and dips in here. Like this nice little swirl right here.
I know. I was just looking at that one. Yeah.
And the way it just gets that choppy little bubbly water almost.
And they look almost like hands pulling the ships down, don't they?
Oh, definitely.
You know? Yeah. So he returned to his hermitage. And then if we go to the next one, now I remember what the next one is. So when he died, shortly after he returned to his hermitage, he died. And this is a depiction of the monks on Lindisfarne lighting torches to let people know that he's died. Isn't that cool? Like lighting beacons.
To signal across the tidal area.
Yeah, to let people know that he's died. So I think that's really neat.
Yeah, it's a neat depiction, especially like I'm remembering what it looked like to look from the land to the island and from the island to the land. So that's really neat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because of course we were there, and these images kind of bring it all home. Like one of the things is that we want our viewers to know we've experienced this. Like you can go to Lindisfarne, you can walk in the steps of these saints. Oh my gosh. And it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's like, we want that closeness with the saints and to have that feeling. There's nothing better than going where that saint actually was and to just stop and be like, oh, he was right here.
Yeah.
You can walk through the ruins of the Hermitage on Lindisfarne and you're like...
And not be bitter and twisted.
Easy, Alix. It's in ruins. It's sad, but it's nice to like stand there and like...
Yeah.
Like when they do like those great videos of they show, ancient ruins being rebuilt with CGI. And it's like, I can kind of feel that when I'm like standing in these places.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's so neat. You can just like feel it being built around you. You wonder about the sounds and the smells when you stand in what was the kitchen.
Yeah, that's right. Because we did stand in, like, we're like, this was the kitchen. This was a big kitchen. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. So now when he died, when St. Cuthbert died, His relics were venerated to such a degree that the monastery on Lindisfarne became a place of great wealth, and thus making it a target for our dear little Vikings. And and if everyone remembers, the first Viking raid recorded Viking raid, because I think there probably were more, but not everybody wrote everything down. Maybe people didn't survive in order to write about it. So that took place in 793, and but they didn't just go to Lindisfarne one time. The raids increased in frequency, so much so that the monks, so this is about, we're looking at almost 200 years, sorry, almost 100 years after St. Cuthbert died. And they increased with such frequency that the monks decided to abandon the island. And they took with them St. Cuthbert and the Lindisfarne Gospels. So and let's go to the next slide. Let's see what I've had now. This is like going to be a surprise because I can't remember. Ooh, you skipped one and we can't go back. Can we? Hello? I'm just going to keep talking.
There we go. All right, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, I was like, what happened?
All right.
We'll skipped one. That. Okay, if we can fix it, because I put that one that we went past quickly just for you. Yeah, go right back.
Okay,
there we go. Sorry. We should probably tell people we're having a little challenge with the slideshow today, so you're kind of seeing all the background stuff, but bear with us. And the monks of Lindisfarne wandered through Northumbria and the surrounding areas, carrying the relics of St. Cuthbert for 7 years. And I was talking to the guys on The Secrets of Middle-earth, and one of them was like, that sounds like a bad movie plot. And I said, it does sound like something Monty Python would come up with.
I think it would make a great movie, though, if somebody did it.
I think so,
really
too.
Good.
But so they wandered around for 7 years, and in 995 they founded Durham Cathedral, and this is how it came about. So they were carrying the relics of Saint Cuthbert in a coffin. And they came, and suddenly, and they had been going around. It was almost like an involuntary pilgrimage for these monks, and people obviously miracles were happening with this coffin, with his relics. And suddenly, when they were in Chesterless Street, the cart came to a stop, and it refused to budge, even though the oxen were trying to pull it, and the monks were trying to push it. And you can imagine what this must have looked like. And they figured out, like, oh, I wonder if something, maybe this is more than physical. Maybe we should leave it. And that night, one of the monks had a dream, and St. Cuthbert appeared in the dream and said that he wanted a church built in a place called Dunholm. And of course, the monks had no idea what Dunholm was. But conveniently, a milkmaid the next day was searching for her cow, who'd wandered off to her favorite spot, which was Dunholm. And so the monks took this as a sign from heaven that they were going to be able to find a place to stop their pilgrimage and finally build a home for their saint. And when they got there, they opened up his coffin, and his body was incorrupt. And in the coffin, now this had been put in, I think, about 12 years after he had died, is a gospel. And this is the gospel of St. Cuthbert, also known as St. John's Gospel, or the Stonyhurst Gospel. So Stonyhurst is a Jesuit monastery or place. And they've had this gospel for many years, but now it's at the British Library. They sold it to the British Library, I think, in 2016 or something. And this was found in his coffin, and it is the best preserved, complete, bound book. It's the oldest one in Europe. So take a look at this, Kathryn.
Wait, this was put in his coffin in what year?
About 12 years after he died.
Which was?
So this is in the 700s. And this is what it
700s.
looked like. Yeah, this is what it looked like in the 700s. Look at that.
Wow.
I know.
There's all that lovely Celtic knotwork too.
Beautiful. And I mean, isn't it
nice.
gorgeous? The embossing. And I think I've seen this because I went to an exhibit of the Lindisfarne Gospel, which I said I was a little disappointed in because it was hard to see things if you're not very tall. And I remember seeing a little book, and I swear it was this book, and it's such a vibrant red. It really doesn't come across in this image. But look at the quality. So this is something, you know, when we look at things in museums or churches and, you know, relics that are, you know, over 1,000 years old, so much wear and tear has happened on them because they've been exposed to people and things and events. This hasn't. This is the quality of work that was being produced by these monks in the 8th century. It could be today. This could be something that you could pick up today, and it would be considered really beautiful today. And look at the details.
Yeah. And then just looking at that page of the writing and how crisp all the lettering is.
And it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. Yep.
Nice.
I know. So beautiful. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see these are some of the other things that were found in the in his coffin. And I have a picture of his coffin as well. So we have his cross.
How long was the coffin closed before they opened it?
So it says that the information that I got with about the gospel was that it was found in the 12th century, but I think it was taken out in the 12th century. I don't think it was discovered then. I think that's when they took it out and they moved it someplace else, but I could be wrong. Because I'm just thinking
you said they were wandering for 7 years? 7 years.
7 years. Just 7 years. Yeah, not 77.
7 years. No, not
7
77.
years. And I don't think, and he did have a leaden coffin that he was originally buried in. But then when they were moving him around, can you imagine they put him in a wooden coffin. And then this is the wooden coffin. So the image at the top left with the kind of a gold border, those are the remains of the oak coffin. Inside the coffin, along with his body, was his pectoral cross, which is beautiful. This is the symbol of kind of like the logo. It is, and it's a good size. I want to say it might be a little bit smaller than the palm of my hand. It's really beautiful.
It's neat to know how pectoral crosses on bishops have not changed too much. They're beautiful examples of the cross of Christ.
They are. It's beautiful, and it just the setting of the garment. I don't know if those are garnets or rubies, but whatever it is. And do you know what I like about it? So obviously this is gold with a precious stone, but it's not ostentatious. You know, it's just that little bit of it's obviously whoever made it was very highly skilled, but it's not ostentatious. It's enough. And
the way it's curved looks like it could be easily clasped while praying.
Yes.
You know, have you ever
hard edges.
Held onto a cross when you're praying? It's a great comfort.
It is. It's beautiful. Beautiful. And then part of his stole was in there. And that's if you see the image of, oh my gosh, is that Peter, Petros.
Oh yeah.
You can see that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it looks like he's holding a key. Now this is, done in the technique called, opus angelorum, which we've got to talk about one day, because that is such a major part, certainly, of the work that you do, Kathryn. So that was
big influence on the embroidery work I do.
Yeah, exactly. And this is something now I couldn't take any of these photographs. You have to go into the museum in the cathedral, and you can't take a photograph of this, and I can understand that. And then at the bottom, we have something that if we have people who've been listening or watching our show for a while, they should recognize this. This is a traveling altar, and it's the oldest traveling altar in the world. And it's
look at it.
St.
It's got
Cuthbert's.
the 5 mark for the 5 wounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And what's interesting is I think I've got another one that's another photograph, but one of the things that's really interesting, a lot of you have things written in Latin and you have things written in runic, the runic alphabet. Yeah. And so I know it's cool. It's so neat.
It is.
And if we go to the next, I'm hoping I have an example of that in the next slide. Yes. So this is part of his coffin, and it is an image of the Blessed Mother with the Christ child on her lap. And it's kind of lightly, it's carved into this oak. I'm sure it's oak. And if you look to the right, and it's really faint. Now, I personally cannot even see it in the real thing, the photograph, but you can actually see, I take that back. You can see the runic writing in person, but here it's really hard to see. So that's why you have this kind of line drawing, and that is the Cairo sign in runic letters. And if you remember when we were talking about the crosses, and we were looking at that one image of and I'm like, I don't see the Cairo on this. I wonder if it was in runic letters, and that's why I didn't recognize it.
There you go.
I know. But isn't that neat? And I love that shows the influence, the people who were being evangelized, the people who were being transformed by the faith that was moving through the British Isles. And they didn't go, oh, can't use the runic sign. No, they used it because that's what people, that's what they could read.
They made sure everyone could understand.
Exactly. And let's see.
It's interesting. I've seen a lot of images of Mary with Christ on her lap. Older images like this also. And I always find it sad that usually the image of Christ in that is the part that's deteriorated the most.
Yeah.
I've seen like a couple old like manuscript images and stuff, and it's like, oh Lord, don't let us ever forget you.
Exactly. And sometimes I think in this case, it might, I don't know. You know, I don't know when how long this coffin has been broken up into many pieces. Because of course we're going to get into a little bit of history of what happened in Durham Cathedral. Not too much, because we want to concentrate on some of the treasures. But that is something to always take into account. That you know, if you see faces that have been erased, if you've seen certain things that are not there anymore, that was done on purpose. It wasn't something that just naturally happened or faded with time. But I don't know in this case, because this is really old. I mean, this is really old. And one of the things I love about the face is of the Blessed Mother is it really looks like something that could be in the Book of Kells, or, you know, I love how they took. Have you ever done the thing? I mean, I remember doing this in some art classes where you have to do a line drawing and you can't pick the pen up off the, you really have to think about
line.
How exactly. And you've got to really think about, okay, what's going to be my next move so this image makes sense. And that's what this kind of looks like. You know?
Yeah, it does have that continual line feel.
It does. I love it.
It's interesting because in embroidery work, when I was first getting into the style that I'm doing now, the instructor in her book wrote that the stitching should look as if it just continues one into the next.
Yeah.
A continual flow, because it represents God's eternity.
Yeah. And that's the split stitch, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the split stitch, but also just the way you lay down your stitches. One should flow right into the next. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I think with split stitches, you can do it in a much more effective way with split stitches versus other ones. But this is us talking inside baseball.
I know, we're having fun.
I know. Okay. So let's see let's see what's the next slide.
Throwing a map in there.
Okay. I have to always put a map in there for Kathryn. So the origin.
We want our viewers to be able to find these places, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah, because it's so funny. Because there was something that I did, and you're like, "Where is this in context?" And I thought it was in context. But,
we kind of zoomed in on some northern islands and went, "Okay, now we know where it is." Yeah,
exactly. So this is something I've put some arrows here and a little star to draw your attention to certain things. So we have Chester-le Street or Chester-le-Stret, and Chester is a Roman, that the origins of the etymology of that is Roman, and street is Anglo-Saxon. So now you know where the word street comes from. It's an Old English word. Yeah. And so that's where that's where the ox stopped. And the monks had the monk had the dream, and then they followed the milkmaid all the way to Durham. And so now you can see where Durham is. But I want everybody, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, but I want everybody to look at where the star is. And that is where a place called Washington is located. And that's because that is the origin of the Washington family, as in George Washington. And we didn't get an image, although maybe if you Google Washington coat of arms, which is it's an old family in England, you will see the inspiration for the American flag. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nice. And I don't know why I didn't take a photograph of that, but this place is so big. By that time, I think we were like, what are we going to do now?
So much to see.
It is. And so the origin of the city of Durham goes all the way back to Roman times, which is why I mentioned the Chester-le Street. And we don't know what the Romans called it, but the earliest name is Old Duresma, which means Old Durham. And that is a reference to like an old farm. And Old Duresma is an Anglo-Saxon name. And if the Anglo-Saxons were calling it old, it was pretty old. By the time the monks got there, this is an old place. The city borders on the banks of the River Wear, and there's a section of Durham very close to the river. I think we have a nice photograph of the river. The next one, the next picture. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Could be something totally different.
Yeah, we do have a picture of the river. Yep.
Okay, good. So, there we go. Who took that picture, Kathryn?
I don't know. Maybe me.
Maybe you. That's right. So this is the River Wear. And, but there's a place very close to the river called Elvet. And Elve, spelled exactly the same way, in Norwegian means the river. So that's kind of cool. But I think the Anglo-Saxons refer to it as the River of the Swans. And, swans have a very special place in the heart of all British people, I think. It's illegal to kill a swan. And we had someone, sadly, shoot a swan once here with a BB gun or something. And do you know what? I thought there was going to be like riots in the streets. I mean, I couldn't believe. I mean, I don't approve of people being cruel to animals in any way, shape, or form. But I was really quite shocked at the very strong reaction. I mean, like signs being put up and saying like, "Oh, we need to hunt these people down." It was very strange. Anyway, yes. So like I said, so this is so now we have our first pictures of this beautiful, beautiful cathedral. And these were taken by Kathryn. But anyway.
It was nice when we came into the city. As you know, we walked here and there. You can see the tower from a distance, but when you first approach to go into the cathedral, this is the great view that you have just spanning across in front of you.
It's big. It is big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's one of those breathtaking bigs. Yeah, but before we go on, we have some special people we need to thank. So we're going to take a moment here to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of sacred art, including Carlos G., Robert N., AJ, Dylan A., and Dan M. Their generous donations make us at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of sacred art and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Thank you, patrons.
Yes, thank you very much. As always, couldn't do it without you. So, so, and I have to say to people, they should be very impressed with this one photograph, the one to the right, because Kathryn took that after we were huffing and puffing. Look how high up we were. I mean, go ahead.
To really have people grasp the height of this. So here's the central tower.
Yeah, just look at Kathryn's cursor. Yeah.
Watch the cursor just up and down the central tower. You begin over here in this portion, which when you first approach it, beautiful, wide open, classic, spiraling, wide, probably 10 feet wide. I mean, that's a huge column you're inside of. It's like if you've seen Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame, and you've got the hunchback, and he's going up his big column stairways to go to his little house in the rooftop there. So you get up there and you're spiraling away going, hey, this is easy. This is awesome. You get here. Thank goodness there's this nice long hallway to catch your breath. And you feel like, we've got to be over halfway to the top. No, we're not halfway to the top.
No.
Then there's another set of stairs. And they're not just a nice little spiral. They go up one way, then they switch back another way. Then they go up one way and switch back another way. And it gets narrower and narrower and narrower as you get to the top.
Yeah. And if you have like a rucksack on your back. No. And if you have like a rucksack on your back, you feel like, wow, am I going to have to, in fact, it wasn't this one, but I've been up in towers where I've had to take my rucksack off my back and carry it kind of in front of me because otherwise I just can't get around the corners. You know, it's getting caught on the corners.
Tiny little steps.
Yeah.
I'm glad I have little feet. Sorry, Alix, for the big feet.
No, I know. Hey, look, I've been walking with these big feet for a long time.
Well, the crazy thing were the acoustics. You get up there so far and you feel like you're close to the top because you can hear people saying, I'm at the top now. And Alix, you and your daughter were ahead of me and you're like, it's not that far now. We hear people. I'm like, wow, they sound really close to me. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm almost there. Then there's another switchback and you're going up another set of stairs that spiral the other way. I'm like, good grief. But by the time you get to the top, the view is breathtaking. And this is me peeking through the little slats way up here at the top.
Yeah. And those are called castellations.
To the river.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Castellations. Yes.
Yeah. Which is where the word castle comes from. So there you go.
There we go.
But I know, but it's really a beautiful view, and you can get an idea of how beautiful Durham is itself. It's just, it's a city because cities have cathedrals, and that's the definition of a city in Europe. It has to have a cathedral, and it's once you get up there, it's worth it, and it's worth. And then when you're up there, you're like, we're going to stay here for a while because my legs need to rest. But anyway, so everyone imagine, this was a hard fought photograph that Kathryn took here. But
yes.
let's give some people.
If you don't have the strength to do the stairs, go to Google Maps.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Type in Durham Cathedral. We have a link. Do we put the link in the show notes?
If we have it,
if not, we will. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure you zoom way in. You know how you can like drop the little figure into, a little blue highlighted area. If you zoom way in, there's little dots, and one of them will put you on the roof, and you can get the view. It's fabulous.
Yeah, it really is beautiful. It's beautiful, and it was a beautiful day. Beautiful day in the north of England. And so let's go into the next couple of slides here. So this next slide, so cool. So my family, we are some serious Lego fans, have been for a long time. My girls played with Lego bricks for probably up until I think my oldest was almost 16. My youngest was 14 when they're like, you know what? None of our friends are really playing, at that day, age 14, 16, girls have different interests. Not so much Lego.
I just bought my first Lego set a couple months.
Oh man.
Not even a month ago.
Yeah. They're so much fun. They're such a way. They're so creative. And I just think, I can't tell you if this isn't a testimony, if this image is not a testimony to the creativity that is possible with Lego bricks, I don't know what is. Mm-hmm. And so this is a Lego model of Durham Cathedral, and my husband took these photographs. And when so Durham Cathedral was started by Saint Calais. Don't know much else about him except that. But Durham Cathedral, I didn't know this until I was doing this research. People think that Durham Cathedral was really inspired by the old St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. So if you want to get an idea of what the old St. Peter's Basilica might have looked like, take a look at Durham Cathedral. And it's a Romanesque style, and that style predates the Gothic architecture. Mm-hmm. So isn't that it? So here you've got a link to the past of the building that was in Rome before Bernini's St. Peter's Basilica. Might have looked something like that. I didn't know that before. Did you?
No.
Yeah, they tore this down. And I bet tearing it down was a lot of work. If it looked anything like this. And I think we've got another picture, another view of the Lego. Yeah. And this is the other side. And look at this. Look at what a great job they've done with the stained glass windows. Now, they couldn't get all the details that the actual stained glass windows have in Durham Cathedral. But, I mean, did they do a great job?
Yeah, I love how they put all those little clear colored pieces in the windows.
I know.
And then the windows that open. Like here.
Yes.
They have opened the window so you can peek into all the details on the inside. I am so bummed this was not up when I was visiting.
Well, this was, but this was in the part that was closed.
They just finished assembling it.
Well, no, what they did, it had been in storage. I think you're right. It had been in storage for a while, but also remember when, we should tell our viewers again, when Kathryn and her daughter came, when we visited Durham Cathedral, parts of it was closed because the BBC was doing some kind of filming. So this was a part that you didn't have access to, which really made me upset. So this is something that, and what's lovely about this as well is you have all kinds of, this is what I loved about this Lego cathedral. You had minifigs in there, but you had sort of contemporary minifig tourists. Yeah. But you'd have like contemporary minifig tourists, but then you would have like the old Irish monks carrying St. Cuthbert's coffin, and then you'd have, I think they even had some angels in there. It was It was really, really well done. Such a, when people use, yes, I mean, I just love Lego bricks, and I love people who use them in a way that can make it, do something really special. This is better than like a drone footage, I think, because you can get it right up close, and it's that compression of time. People in modern time, people in, medieval times, people in, Victorian times and stuff. It's very cool what they did there. And we've got a little bit of a map of the scale of Durham Cathedral as well. People can just take a look at
nice little floor plan. So when you come to the cathedral, you actually enter down in here.
Yeah.
And then you can see, anytime I love cathedral floor plans, because then you can see where the hidden stairwells are. Those workers had to have a way to get to the top and back down.
That's right.
So
and you can see them.
Yep. And when you come in, and then we worked our way over. I think this is the one where we went up and up and up just to go across, to go up and up and up some more.
I know. It's like, wait a minute. Yeah. And you can kind of see the oh gosh, what is it called? The garden, the courtyard, and
cloister.
Thank you. Couldn't think of the name. Yeah, and the cloister is beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's all beautiful. And then actually, if you see that little archway,
more pictures of that.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say something about the archway where you have the cemetery, and then you have like this arched area. I believe that is the chapter house.
Here. Yes.
Yes. And again, we didn't have access to that because of the BBC filming, but people might not know.
All I got was a picture of the doors.
Yeah. The chapter house was featured in Harry Potter. Don't know which one. Don't know what it was, but it's in Harry Potter. And another thing I have to say,
rewatched it not that long ago.
Oh, okay.
And Sam and I, Samantha, my daughter, went with us, and she was the one who knew right away, hey, this was in Harry Potter. And sure enough, they show a scene of the kids walking, and I do believe they're walking here in the cloister.
Yeah, and they will be doing,
definitely recognized it. I was like, that's Durham. We knew right away.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing I have to say about Durham Cathedral is it has the largest pipistrelle bat colony in Britain. And as you're walking through, it's the one place you can see bats flying around during the day, because sometimes the roof where they're in gets so warm, they want to like fly around to cool off, and they'll go under the benches and things. And you always have people there.
I didn't see any looking bats for them when I was there.
I know. And but it's neat because they do have volunteers that come out, because you have to watch them because they're tiny, and their biggest issue is they can get dehydrated, and that can be deadly for bats. And so they have these guys walking around with these little paintbrushes that they dip in water and they feed to the bats. It's very cute.
Oh, that would have been cute to see.
I know. But we were so overwhelmed and excited and running around like kids, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. So another, this is another link to some of our previous episodes. And this is just to the left, what looks like maybe something not very exciting. Yep. This is called an oblate, and it's the only one surviving in the UK. And an oblate is an oven where they would bake the wafers for communion hosts. And I just have a picture now. This image is not from Durham Cathedral. I just wanted to say, first this, then this kind of thing. Yeah. And oblate comes from the Latin oblatus, which means offering, like an oblate, like a Benedictine oblate or something.
And you know what's really important in this picture? Besides that, is this right down here.
The step.
That's the first step of hundreds if you want to get to the top.
Literally hundreds. Yes, Kathryn's going on about that tower. Yeah, so that's where we started.
I loved it. It stuck with me.
Yeah, but here you've got it's a little fireplace, a little oven that they used, and it's the only one surviving in Britain. we have this one, and then there's also, I think Hereford Cathedral might have the only surviving anchorite cell in the country.
Oh,
I have to go there one day, take pictures of that one. But let's see, what do we have going on next? Oh, I know what we do. I hope if I've done this right. Yes. Oh, okay. Talk a little bit about this, Kathryn, and I'll tell you what I found out. But I want your input on this.
So, breathtakingly, the best thing for me about a cathedral, especially in this either Romanesque or Gothic style, are the forest of columns that support everything above them. Especially these big central ones, like this one here with the lozenges on it. Gorgeous and massive. I mean, you cannot wrap your arms around this thing. Not even, I don't know, what, 4 people to wrap your arms around?
Yeah, I was going to say, you can see a couple of people in comparison to these columns. Yeah. Yeah. They're huge.
But what was neat about Durham was the columns had different patterns as they progressed forward. So you would have chevron, which you'll find everywhere. There's little chevrons up here in these arches. And then you have the lozenge, and then you have spiral. And it's and then you'll have some compound columns that are clusters of columns together. But just to see that progression of the different styles is very fascinating.
Yeah. And they were really, and I want to say something, and I'm sure we've said this before, and I feel like I'm always repeating myself, but it bears worth repeating. The chevron pattern seems to have something to do, the Benedictine order seemed to be very much connected with that chevron pattern. And this cathedral was a Benedictine abbey. When it was built. And so again, you walk into a place and you see those chevrons, the chances of it being associated with the Benedictine order is pretty high, pretty strong.
And I did a little looking about chevron symbolism because it's very prominent in British and French heraldry. And they say that the chevron represents like the roof or rafters of a house. And so it signifies protection.
Oh, and
so those chevrons will give that feeling of protection. What's interesting is when you take 2 chevrons and one pointed up, one pointed down, put them together, you get the lozenge form, this diamond form. So you have an interlocking of these 2 chevrons together. Is fascinating.
It is. That's really cool. And I will say this. Doing this research, I discovered that the twisted one is called a Solomonic column. So Solomon, it comes from Solomon. And if we go to the next image, and this is where you want to get this link to Rome. This is the image on the right is the Solomonic column, and I'm probably saying it wrong, but I just, that's the way it is at the moment. I couldn't find out how to pronounce it. This was in the Vatican, and you can see this picture by Raphael where he has incorporated this actual column into his painting of the healing of the lame man. And it was thought that this is the column that our Lord leaned up against when he was, the scourging, but it's not. This was something that was donated to the Vatican by Emperor Constantine in the 2nd century. But you can see this connection and the consistency of the columns in Durham Cathedral going all the way back to the 2nd century.
Wow.
And this is something, and there are several. So when you see, I would call it a barley twist. You know what I mean? You know how you have that pattern, but it actually, so think about this. If you've got I've got a barley twist table, and now I'm going to look at it and I'm going to go, oh, that's a Solomonic columns table. So it's a design that should be familiar to people. Look around. take a look at some of the pillars and things on the fronts of the facades of buildings. You might find it. And now you know where it comes from.
The whole setup of a column. And remember, these are representing people.
Yes.
The columns too.
That's right.
And when you see those columns in the grand nave of a church, that's to have you feel like a procession of saints. And in some churches, I love when there'll be 12 to represent, the apostles.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just wonder if in this painting by Raphael, is he just using the one column and just repeating it to make this image, or were there more columns like this? I don't know. But I think it's supposed to be the temple. And so, going into the Vatican or St. Peter's Basilica and seeing this and then seeing it associated with the temple is brilliant on Raphael's part.
Yeah, because this is the scene where Peter's shadow fell on the man and he was healed.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And sort of that reinforces the idea of Peter and his papacy and the legitimacy of that and everything, and the power of the church to heal. And I just think that's amazing. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So let's go on. Yeah, so much. So let's go on to the
back
next.
To Durham.
Yes, back to Durham Cathedral. So again, these are some photographs that my husband took, and this is the rose window. I thought this was the original rose window, but it's not. It was replaced in the 19th century because the original rose window was removed in the 18th century because they were doing all kinds of stuff in the 18th century.
And some sad stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Not a whole, but you know what's interesting? The sad stuff that was happening, because I guess, you can only take your ire so high, right? And and so when we were in Durham Cathedral, we saw lots of original statues and things way, way up high, because when the iconoclasts came through, they couldn't reach them. And so that's how they stayed. So, but I don't think the window wasn't taken down like for any kind of like ideological reason. It was just that there was an architect that came in and had all kinds of brilliant ideas, and he's now known as the Destroyer.
Oh, sad.
Yeah. So they replaced this in the 19th century, but it's beautiful. It's stunning.
It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And that candelabra in front of it.
We have 12.
Those are the 12 apostles. And you know what? Judas is even in that. I didn't have a picture of it. I should have taken a photograph.
Oh,
they have a close-up of it. But Judas is in that, and his halo is black.
Oh, wow.
I know.
And what about our outer? Then it would be an outer 24.
Yeah. And those are various saints.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's beautiful. But it is, as I said,
and here you can see our little, now that we know what it's called.
Little columns. Yeah.
Solemnic column.
Yeah. Unless it's called something else, unless you pronounce it a different way, which I never.
Yeah.
Sadly, I didn't. I was doing so much research. I forgot to look that one up. I just, so sorry. So let's take a look at a couple of other ones. We've got some more images here to take. So these are called teaching crosses. And this is the Nisham cross from the 12th century. And do you know what I love about this one? Okay, so we've got the sacrifice of, Christ on the cross with Our Lady and St. John. But look at the very foot of the cross. That
down here?
Yes, that gorgeous little monk, barefooted, praying in supplication. He's uniting himself with Christ on the cross. I love that.
Yeah. This is a very, east-west image. The iconography in the east matching the iconography of the west. Very beautifully done.
Yeah.
And this is in the museum section then in Durham?
This is in the museum section, which was the old library. And I think this used to be the what would you call it, the dormitory of the monks where they would sleep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. neat. It's a huge room. It's just, I mean, wow. I think it's bigger than my house, actually. It's massive. So let's take we have a couple of other teaching crosses.
Very nice.
Yeah. And these are older. And of course, if you notice, these are chunks of crosses. And
the cross arms. Yes.
Yeah. Because again, thinking about why the Celtic cross has those arches, these are kind of contemporary to those, but without the arches. And you can see what happens when you don't have the arches to support things. But what I think is really special about this one is this is an image of a baptism. And if you look, there's a man, he's got like a spoon. Somebody was like, oh, maybe he's clubbing that person. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Oh, here, this.
Yeah. So that's like the spoon. Okay. And then next to, on the other side, the circle, I think that would be like a font.
Okay.
And he's pouring water over the head of this man in the front. And I don't know if it's because I think they didn't do full immersion baptisms in the north of Europe for pretty obvious reasons, because it's freezing, you know.
And yet the monks would say there are 150 verses in the icy cold water.
Yeah, but not everybody was a monk. Not everybody was called to be a monk. So these were like, you know, so as lay people, we're like, thank you for that. Thank you for just pouring the water. And and I just think and there are several ones like this, and it's really interesting, really an interesting imagery here. And nice. I just wonder, I'm just now thinking, I wonder if these are any kind of connections with the seven sacraments. These images seem to be mirroring each other on either side of the arm of this cross, but I don't know. I just focused on the middle bit, because I just thought that was, and the one above, you can see you've got the Lamb of God. Yes. And again, it looks like there might be a little bit of a, little maybe blood coming out, a sacrifice. And anyway, I wish you could have seen this
tracery. Yeah.
I know. You got to come back, Kathryn. There's nothing else for it. And then next time, and if the BBC is there next time, we're like, we don't care. We're coming back anyway. I wanted to put this one up for you just to kind of get your feedback on this. Besides the amazing beams, look at those fantastic oak beams in the background. But look at this cross. Look at the sun in the middle, and you've got a rooster on one side and a calf on the other, and what looks like some kind of bird above it. But have you ever seen a cross like this?
No, not at all. I mean, this looks different than anything we've been searching for when we were talking about crosses in our previous episode. And just having the sun, and I'm going to say those are probably clouds, like the sun breaking forth through clouds. I don't know. Yeah, like you see a lot of times, like with the hand of God earlier, and when you're looking at, you see like the little bubbly cloud. So this seems like the light breaking through.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what's at the bottom down here.
I think that is the sacrifice of Abraham. I think.
Oh, okay.
And I have to say, these crosses, these are massive. I mean, these crosses are like 7 feet high. So trying to take I mean, they're really big. And so when my husband was taking the photographs, he's tall, but they have it on a platform. So you're talking about it's on a platform, and then it's even taller. So it's really hard to kind of get everything in. I just think it's a really fascinating cross.
But we know St. Peter would definitely relate to that rooster.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
The cockcrow, the breaking of dawn.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, you just said that. And then you have the sun coming through the clouds. Maybe that's what it is.
And then maybe this is a lamb, the sacrifice of the lamb.
It could be. Yeah. We'll have to go back. And and see what we can tease out of it. What's a puzzle to us would have been so obvious to people a long time ago. And I think, I don't know if that's so that is the, so this is called a hogback grave marker. And this is something that shows the presence of the Vikings in the area. And there are two, these were kind of thought of as being protection of the dead, I think. I'm not sure. But this was on top of a pagan, Scandinavian or Viking grave. And there are several of them that they're all over the place. But what's interesting is over time, they started using these shapes. They're not called hogbacks because they're in any way related to hogs. It's just the shape. But these two have bears. Can you see the little bears? And they've got muzzles on the bear and their little paws, or big paws rather. And these are big as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are, substantial pieces of stone. And then the one in the background, that's also a hogback. But what they started doing is, over time, you will see how churches would then use these as lintels for the doorways of churches, just because the stone was like lent itself to that shape. They're supposed to mimic like a long house, a Viking longhouse. And then they would start stylizing things, and you slowly start to see this shape incorporated into Catholic art, Catholic architecture. Really, really fascinating. And I think I have a couple more slides. Okay, and then these are this is the, oh my gosh, Kathryn. Yeah, you go ahead and
this
say
first
what it
image is from standing along the cloister and looking at the cloister garden area. And then this large window off to the left here would be the window to the chapter house.
Yes.
And we saw in that arched room. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's such a gorgeous room.
Yeah, there's that walkway. You guys got to rewatch Harry Potter. Look for this walkway.
Yeah. So beautiful.
And, another outside shot.
It is. It is.
Durham.
This was such a fun day.
Oh, it was beautiful. Yeah.
I know.
And they have a lovely cafe downstairs.
They do. I was going to say, and then we went home and we had like chili that night.
But there's one thing in the walkway most people walked right past and didn't even know was there. And that was all of this.
Yes. Beautiful.
Because, a lot of people don't stop to look up. And oh my goodness, the little details of the metalwork here. I believe it's metalwork.
No, it's wood.
That's wood.
It's carved wood.
It's so thin, some of it.
Yeah. I think it's oak.
But yeah.
Yeah. And again, check out those beams. Gorgeous. I mean, the beams are beautifully carved too. They're not just straight beams. They're beautiful. They have like little curves to them. Oh yeah. Well, you can see it a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's supposed to be the Green Man. I think that's a Green Man. I'm not sure. Man? Yeah, that's part of.
I almost put him on my jack-o'-lantern this year.
I liked what you did put on your jack-o'-lantern, but I think this is just part of like British mythology, something that they commit. People would have recognized it as like this character. He could be blowing smoke out of his mouth. I don't know, but but then you have the roses, which are so important on lots of different levels in English history. And you have the Lancastrian rose and the rose of Lancaster and the rose of York and all kinds of stuff. And of course, the rose representing Our Lady.
Yeah, because I thought, that would be fabulous on a chalice, Paul.
It would be. I agree.
I love it.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I probably wouldn't put the Green Man on a chalice, Paul. But
no. When you go into cathedrals and churches, take the time to look for the little details. I have a lot of other pictures from there where I was looking at like little carvings on the side of tombs and things like that, where you just see all the little details that go into it.
Yeah. And of course, the details, one of the things why you see all these little details and it's fun to look for them is these details were there for God. You know, they didn't do everything because they wanted it visually to be there for people, but they also wanted it to be for God. So that's where you find these little hidden places and you find these beautiful little treasures. And yeah.
And we got one more picture here.
Do we? Okay, excellent. This face, so this is the front door of the cathedral, and I guess you really
face that greets you.
It is, and you really can't appreciate how big it is. But just to give you an idea, like I have to reach. This is above my head. This door knocker, and it's actually not a door knocker. So that little ring doesn't move, and this is actually a replica of the original. They had. I think it was in the 1960s. They got word that somebody was out to steal it or destroy it or something, and so they've moved it. And this is a replica, and it is the face of a demon with flames coming from behind his head, and you can see his ears. And originally, the eyes are thought to have had like red glass in them. So this would have been a really scary creature greeting you. And he's actually in the ring. You see kind of that double-headed dragon or even snake. That is actually, he's in his mouth are the legs of a human being. And you grab that ring to open the door. And the idea was that by going in and celebrating Mass, you're pulling yourself out of hell. You're keeping yourself out of hell. Which I love.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be able to reach that high.
Well, the thing is, and also it was really important to, you need some help. Maybe you could get Stan to pick you up or on your behalf. But I do want to just bring a little bit of attention to the hole in front of, in the head of this
checking in the forehead
demon.
Here?
Yeah. That was done by Cromwell's men. So they were, when they were going in and bashing things up. So this kind of still bears the scars of that. And
you said this one's a replica.
This is a replica. I think they made this in the 1960s. So you can see the original.
So they even replicated the hole in the head. They
did, because that's part of its history.
Nice.
Yeah. And, but what you would do, and this is what's so, I think it's not called, I mean, we call it like a door knocker or a door ring or something, but this is called this is a sanctuary ring, because Durham Cathedral was a place of sanctuary for people who were kind of running into trouble with the law, not just trouble with, not just canon law or ecclesiastical law, but secular law as well. So if you could get to Durham Cathedral and you touched that ring, you could take sanctuary inside the cathedral for, I want to say it actually is a really interesting concept. You could have a sanctuary for like a year and a day or 30 days or 45 days or something like that. And this was kind of a cooling off period. So if somebody was accused of a crime, it kind of took a lot of the emotion, the initial emotion out of whatever the situation was. And it gave the victims time and the accused time to either work out a deal, for the accused to prove his or her innocence, for the victims of the crime to prove the guilt of the accused. And so it was a really interesting, just like, let's everybody just take a breath and figure out what's going on. And so this idea of Durham being an official sanctuary place. And one of the options that you had, and it wasn't like it was a great option, was going into exile. And it wasn't like, I mean, nobody wanted to go in. There's a reason that's a punishment, exile. You know, you're in a very vulnerable situation, but it also, you know, there was like a time, like from Durham to getting to where you could safely get out of the area, was like, it was timed that if you did want to go into exile, you could go into exile. But as I said, it was a whole idea of trying to work out with the victims of a crime and the person accused of the crime. How do we sort this out without everything breaking down around us? And and so it was a type of mercy, and not a concept that is in our system today. I'm not saying that it should be implemented, but I just think it just points to the interesting way that within Christendom, people were trying to deal with how they were trying to exact true justice and true mercy. And again, yeah, it's really fascinating. And I think, you know, when we talk about sanctuary doors or doors of mercy, I mean, that is something that we kind of want to, I think it's worth exploring from an artistic perspective. Don't you think? Like where that comes from and in the church, because the church, you know, there's a reason, like you're talking about Notre Dame sanctuary. Yeah, there's it has a meaning, and isn't in Les Mis, didn't they have a scene about sanctuary as well? Can't remember. It's been a while.
Gosh, it's been a while, possibly. I just remember the one in Disney's Hunchback, because you have. But it was a real thing. Yeah, but it was like a place of, like, oh my gosh, you know, lots of things have gone wrong. I mean, you did have people who were guilty who would take advantage of this, but it was also there for people who might have been innocent and needed to have that space and that time. If you were really guilty and knew it, and you're grabbing that demon face, man,
it's telling you,
you got to be really far gone to still want to like look into those eyes and be like, I can still go in for sanctuary.
Yeah. But again, if it was somebody who was guilty, then they would work out what they were going to do. You know, what is going to be an appropriate punishment? You know, how are you going to reconcile with his family and reconcile with the church? You know, it doesn't mean like you're off the hook. It just meant we've got to figure out what to do with you. And like I said, in that space, giving you that space to figure it out. So it wasn't just like instant justice, because sometimes instant justice isn't justice at all, especially if someone's innocent, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so just the whole concept of that. But yeah, you're right. Like when you pull, you know, grabbing that ring and saying, I want sanctuary. And then you're in there, you're in that cathedral for 30 plus days. With
it would
everything
have a big
that entails.
impact on you. It's a big cathedral. And
this is what yeah. And do you know how long it took to build that cathedral?
How long?
About 40 years. Can you believe that? I know.
Wow.
I know. And I'm thinking about like the Big Dig in Boston. Like, really? Yeah.
Wow, I'm thinking about Sagrada Familia, which is still under construction.
I know. Different times, different motivations. But anyway, so that's our whole adventure with the Celtic monks and Celtic sacred art. We've come to the end with Durham Cathedral, and it encompasses all that stuff. And so I thank you for kind of coming along with me on this ultimate rabbit hole, and also our listeners and our viewers. We hope that you've taken something from this. It's so fascinating, and we haven't exhausted it in any way, shape, or form. But it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun this season Yeah.
A little extra long episode, but so much to see in this one. And
I know. And we encourage you, look at all the links, look at the images, and comment and any insights that you might have, especially with that one cross with the sun in the middle. I love that. The sun with the face. I love that.
Yeah. So let's thank everyone for listening and enjoying the Secrets of Sacred Art on Star Quest. And to find previous episodes, you want to head to the Secrets of Sacred Art on YouTube and all of our fun places. And send us feedback by visiting sqpn.com/sacredart. You can send us comments by email at sacredart@sqpn.com or by leaving us a comment on YouTube. And join us in conversation by visiting the Secrets of Sacred Art channel on our Discord community at sqpn.com/discord. And we get some good conversations and some great pictures people share from other locations around the world. So please check that out. And send us your pictures and comments. It gives us great ideas for more shows, more episodes.
Exactly. And we're going to be back next time when we're going to be doing our traditional Secrets of Movies and TV crossover, where we're going to be discussing the Netflix film Pinocchio. And please say who's the director, because I can't remember or pronounce. I didn't want to try to pronounce his name. I was already caught up with the Solemnic column, and I didn't think I did that right.
Let me look it up real quick.
Guillermo or something. Can't remember. Sorry.
At the last second, Alex.
Sorry.
All right, let me find it. So this Netflix version is definitely not your kids' Disney version.
No.
Pinocchio. No. I don't have the name in front of me.
Okay, but I think everybody knows. And actually, the book Pinocchio isn't exactly the Disney version. But we're going to be talking about Pinocchio. And that's going to lead us into the next season. And we'll hear about all that next time. But so until then, thank you again, everyone, for this fantastic ride. We've really, really enjoyed it. I'm Alix Murray.
And I'm Kathryn Laffrey, hoping you find something beautiful.
Bye-bye.